Well, who knew that to start this Tuesday, the 22nd day of July, if we forecasted years ago and looked ahead to today's show, Wire to Wire, who knew that we would be starting the show with the GOAT debate? And no, for all of you out there thinking, I don't want to hear about Michael Jordan and LeBron in the middle of July, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people in this world, Diesel, who do believe that just because we are watching greatness with Scottie Scheffler, people who believe that Scottie Scheffler is as good or as close to good as what Tiger Woods was. And that's where I want to start today's show. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. It is a terrific Tolo Tuesday right here on the Fan Upstate. Again, we appreciate you being with us right here on Wire to Wire. Again, he's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. If it's your first time listening, we appreciate you doing so. But Diesel, I saw a lot of this on Twitter over the weekend. As you know, Scottie Scheffler won the formerly British Open, now the Open, right? And I'm sure you talked about this yesterday in terms of what Scottie did being so remarkable. But we are now in the time where people believe that Scottie Scheffler is up there, and I'll use those words because that's what I saw mostly on Twitter, is up there with Tiger Woods. When you hear that, where does your mind go?
I just laugh.
That's all you look.
I just laugh.
Right?
I just laugh. Tiger is the GOAT. Scottie is the GOOT. Tiger is the greatest of all time. Scottie is the greatest of our time. Appreciate both for being amazing. Both are great.
Yeah, they are.
And saying that Scottie is not the GOAT is not disrespect to Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah.
Tiger had a longer career. More years competed. A lot of extra time. Tiger went pro younger, so he had more time to start racking up wins, and he won at a younger age, like immediately the year he went on tour, and he started racking up wins. Took Scottie a little time to get there. Scottie's got, potentially another 10 years of high-level golf. Usually once you hit around that 40-year-old mark, you fall off, and maybe Scottie can be something special at age 38, 39, 40, but that remains to be seen.
I don't know if he's listening or not, but I go to a good friend of mine, head basketball coach at Landrum, Lynn Smith. Lynn's a good guy, and he put this on Twitter over the weekend about Scottie. Maybe it being time for us to start putting Scottie in the same conversation as Tiger. And that's one of, Diesel, not the only tweet I saw over the weekend, but one of the tweets that I saw that kind of birthed this very segment. By the way, Tolo's out there. Want to hear from you as we dive into this debate because we want to know what side you're on, right? If you're a golf fan, if you're watching what Scottie Scheffler is doing right now, phone lines are open. Hub City Spartanburgers text line also open at 844-326-3663. But Diesel, I just don't know if people realize the difference. To your point, when you watch Scottie's his golf game is impeccable. Like it is up there. His game is up there with anybody's. And I believe that is where most people fail to understand this conversation. You can realize, you can understand, Diesel, that Scottie's game, his game of golf, is up there, right? But it's up there. But when you look at what separates wherever you play Scottie, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wherever you play Scottie, he can be up there, but still light years ahead or light years behind of the number one, who is Tiger Woods. And in my opinion, Scottie's up there. But guess what? He's not. He's not, in my mind, anywhere close to Tiger Woods, and just about every stat backs that up.
Yeah, everything places Scottie maybe third, maybe fourth. Jack Nicklaus is there. Rory is there. It's kind of you got to kind of think 3 or 4 dimensionally here. You got to think about how many wins do they have? How many majors do they have? What was their best year? Like, how dominant were they in their best year? How long did it take them to get their first win? How long did they spend at world rank number 1? All of these things matter. And Tiger pretty much tops all of those.
So let's look at those, Diesel, that you talk about. Let's start with this. And I've got a lot to get to. And again, Tolos, I want to hear from you during this segment as well when it comes to Tiger versus Scottie. If you have a good argument as to why you think Scottie is up there with Tiger, we'd love to hear it. Again, we just look, we're going to give you some stats. We're going to give you some facts. And then you decide where Scottie is in your mind compared to Tiger. So, Diesel, let's start with this. Tiger Woods holds the record for the longest consecutive streak at the world number 1, right? So we know right now that Scottie Scheffler is the world number 1 golfer. He has been, right? He's been for quite a while. Mm-hmm. We all know that Scottie, past 2-3 years, has arguably been the best golfer on planet Earth, and it's not really close. However, to put things in perspective, Diesel, Tiger Woods remained at the world number 1 for 281 weeks. Think about that. From June 12th, 2005 to October 30th, 2010, Tiger Woods was world number 1.
How many weeks is that?
That is 281 weeks. That's just over 5 years uninterrupted.
In a row.
Uninterrupted. A truly dominant run, right? He also leads the all-time total weeks at number 1 with 683 weeks overall. So you have 683 weeks of Tiger being number 1, and then you have 5 years, just over 5 years uninterrupted at number 1 of 281 weeks. When you talk about being number 1, I believe earlier in the segment you used the word longevity. This is what plays into it. And to your point, Scottie may continue to golf for another 10 years, but when you look at the longevity that Tiger Woods put together, do any of us believe that Scottie Scheffler's capable of putting together that type of longevity? I don't know that he is.
It's going to be tough. Let's look at some of these stats individually, okay, and compare them. Mm-hmm. PGA Tour wins and major wins. Tiger won 82 PGA Tour events and 15 majors.
Yeah.
Scottie Scheffler has won 17 tour events and 4 majors.
Yeah.
So
tour events not even close.
Right. 82 versus 17.
Yeah.
15 versus 4. And by the way, there's a young man named Jack Nicklaus right there in between them who won 73 PGA Tour events and won 18 majors. When you look at their best year in 2000, Tiger won 3 majors and 9 events overall. Scottie has won 4 times this year and 2 majors. And this may go down as Scottie's best year in totality. In 2024, he won 6 times, including the Players.
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus won 7 times in 1972 and 2 majors. If you want to look at how long it took them to reach major milestones, Tiger Woods got his first major 8 months after turning pro. It took Scottie 3.5 years.
And I believe he was like 19, 20 years old when he first did that.
Yeah.
So I like I like looking, Diesel, at the span of years, right? Because that is important. And when you talk about longevity, there are a lot of golfers out there that played a long time, but they weren't at their peak during that span of years, right? For example, Sam Snead played for 30 years. He won for 30 years. Tiger won for 24 years. Tiger and Sam Snead are both tied with 82 PGA wins. Tiger has 15 majors, though, compared to Sam Snead's 7 majors. And then you look at Jack Nicklaus, his span of 25 years playing, right? Ben Hogan, 22 years. Billy Casper, 20 years. Phil Mickelson, 31 years and still counting, right? Tom Watson, 25-year span. There are golfers who have had as long as spans as Tiger. But in that span, what Tiger was able to do in that span is why he's the best in my mind. Because dominance completely filled that span. You mentioned Scottie's run that he's on now. Scottie's run that he's on now, if you just snip Diesel like you're snipping a piece of audio, if you snip that run, that span, you can put that span of 2 to 3 years up there with anybody. But the problem is Scottie's 2024 run. Take that for example. He's got 6 wins this season. Remarkable season. He's got a Masters championship, 17 top 10s in 20 events. He has some of the most insane ball striking stats you'll ever see, right? But Tiger won 7 of 11 events in 2000 to 2001, 4 straight majors, which they call the Tiger Slam, 52% win percentage in his prime years. Again, I talked about the number of weeks he was consecutive world number 1. Tiger's best year easily had 9 wins and 20 starts. You talked about the 80-plus PGA wins and how many majors did you say? 15-plus majors? 15 majors for Tiger. So 15 total majors. I just don't know that when you look at their entire career, and to be fair to Scottie, kind of like you and I talked about a minute ago, his career is not over. But when you look at the span of the career, guys, this really isn't close. You can appreciate Scottie's game. You can think that when he's at the top of his game, it's as good as anybody's, and maybe that's fair. But like you just look at longevity, span, and what Tiger Woods did, and to me, it's not close. I love Scottie. He's remarkable to watch. Yeah. But I don't think it's a debate.
RJ texts in at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Says, can't forget about Arnold Palmer when discussing the best golfers of all time. Thank you, RJ, for getting that in. How does Arnold Palmer compare to Tiger Woods? Well, Tiger was 21 when he got his first win. Arnold Palmer was 26. Tiger was 21 when he got his first major. Arnold Palmer was 28. He had an insane run. Arnold Palmer did. He won 62 tour events overall. He won 7 majors overall. So that's to say, if you want to sort of start tiering these guys out based on their number of majors and their number of tour wins, Tiger and Jack were up there. I mean, sure. Tiger still didn't reach the 18 majors that Jack Nicklaus had, but Tiger had more tour wins. Scottie is in there a little closer to Arnold Palmer, to be honest. And still, there's a long way to go to get from the number of PGA Tour wins. I lost it here, how many total Scottie Scheffler has, to get from there to 62. He's got to get from 4 majors to 7 majors. To go, man. He's got to win 3 more. I think we all believe there's a very good chance Scottie Scheffler gets at least 3 more majors and surpasses Arnold Palmer for the number of majors. But he's got a long way to go to reach Arnold's 62.
It's really interesting. I love Scottie Scheffler, to be clear, Diesel, but when you also look at what each has done for the game of golf, not to say Scottie's not like doing anything for the game of golf, but I don't know that there will ever be a golfer in the history of the world that has an impact on the game of golf like Tiger Woods did. It's just not going to happen. The impact that he had on the game, he changed the game. He changed the way tournaments are held. He changed the access.
Changed the courses. They had to Tiger-proof the courses.
Right? He changed the way media accessed events and majors. So it's fun to throw up these kind of conversations, but when it comes to Tiger and Scottie, as good as Scottie is, ladies and gentlemen, it's still really not close. Diesel, in the last few minutes of this segment, before we run to a break, emails just came in for immediate release from the ACC. I know you and I, later in the show, will discuss ACC and some injury reports. Yep. But how about this? The ACC has announced new safety and well-being policies for the 2025-26 year. What does that mean? How does that impact schools? Well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you how it might impact Clemson. So here's the email. If you're a Clemson fan especially, you might want to lean in, turn the volume up, especially when it concerns the gathering at the Paul. Is that what they call it, Diesel? The ACC members will enhance event security plans to ensure that student athletes, coaches, and game officials have an opportunity to safely leave the competition area after basketball and football contest Schools will also provide public reports on availability. We'll get to that later in the show. But it looks as if there will be new policies, 2 new policies, that will enhance the safety and well-being of ACC student-athletes in the 2025-2026 academic year. Diesel, this goes, in my mind, before we get to the rest of the email, this takes me to the basketball game where there was an incident not long ago, maybe this past basketball season where a player, maybe with Duke, John Shire, I believe it was an incident.
Somebody ran into Cooper Flagg.
Right, and it was after the game.
Yeah.
Was it at Clemson when Clemson beat Duke? It might have been.
I don't recall.
Again, it's hard to remember exactly what it was, but the ACC, 2 new policies enhancing the safety and well-being of these student athletes. So it says in this email, this comes from Jim Phillips, by the way, our enhanced health and safety initiatives reflect our continued responsibility to lead with integrity, prioritize the well-being of our programs and fans, and modernize our operations to meet the evolving needs of today's collegiate landscape. Without going into detail, Diesel and the Tolos out there, Clemson does a gathering at the Paul, right?
Yeah.
This is
AKA a slow rush of the field.
Well, that's what it is, 100%. Well, Diesel, to me, the way it sounds, tell me if you disagree or if I'm wrong here, the way it sounds is they want the staff and the players off the court and off the field before any fans are allowed.
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a delay from all zeros on the whistle to the point where fans can access the field. And look, if it's a 5-minute delay, it may be it's much easier to do that in basketball when you have far fewer personnel on the court as compared to football when you've got potentially 100, 125 or more. And that's just athletes and coaches, and you've got staff and all that stuff. To get those people off the field to give fans access. So if that means enhancing, gates around and stopping people from jumping the walls, in places like Charleston and New Orleans, they put broken glass on the edge of the wall. Maybe that'll slow some. They just cement it right into the wall when they build it, and it's just there. So it'll make you go out of the gates, and it'll make you slow down.
So David Hood of TigerNet, who we've had on the show, Diesel, he wrote a column this morning about this, and he put, could Clemson's tradition of gathering at the Paul be in jeopardy? It is possible. To step away from the article a second, going back to what you just said, if there's a delay, it's probably not going to be a rushing of the field, right? Like, people don't rush the field 5 minutes. Like, kind of the whole point of rushing the field is to be with the players, the coaches. If there is a delay, what is the point? Like, do people hang around 5 minutes after the game to rush the field? I don't know what that looks like in terms of logistics, but I think, before I get into this article from David Hood, I think if you're a Clemson fan, the gathering of the Paul going away is a realistic option, a realistic measurement now that the ACC's put these security protocols out there.
Well, it depends. Can you ensure that visiting teams 6 times a year will exit the field within 10 minutes of the end of the game? I mean, you think about that. They all come together, they do their handshakes, they circle up, they have a prayer, and whatever it is they do, they take their time. Hey, I remember I played against you in high school. What's up, man? How are you? And then they finally exit the field. That could take like 20 minutes. And the number of Clemson fans who meet at the Paw at football games, what would you guess that is? Maybe like 5,000? 5,000 some odd fans meet at the Paw?
I'd say more than that.
More than that?
At times, just depending on the game.
Maybe
right?
10?
Yeah.
Just an average game. Not like a crazy
Upset
wanted
win.
on an upset, right.
Yeah.
Just an average game. You beat Wake Forest, maybe 10,000 fans hang out and get on the field. Are 10,000 people going to be willing to wait 20 minutes to do this? To continue this tradition? Here
is Clemson's statement today, Diesel, after this news from the ACC. Clemson says, the ACC's revised sportsmanship policy provides an important framework for the all Clemson is in the process of finalizing our updated protocol in accordance with this policy. Our approach acknowledges the significance of gathering at the Paul on Frank Howard Field at Memorial Stadium and we intend to allow for its continuation once visiting teams and personnel have safely exited the field. We ask our fans for their cooperation beginning this fall. So David Hood then goes on, Diesel, to talk about different ideas, do away with fans completely, right, which a lot of fans probably won't like. He says that the best option in his mind is the one that Clemson's looking at. So here's this, Clemson fans. David Hood says this is your best option. Convince the fans to stay on one side of the wall until the coaches have met, the opposing team has left the field, and the coaches and players have had a chance to sing the alma mater. And this, David says, is an idea that is long overdue. So I think, Diesel, if that were to be the case, I think the people that would eventually be on the field would be significantly less.
Yeah.
Because who's going to hang around? Maybe they do. But I don't think as many people hang around after the game, even though it's a win, for all the teams to leave, get the equipment.
Yeah.
Team comes and sings. I say people start heading toward the parking lot.
So maybe the solution to that is, and I don't know if Clemson can pull this off. I don't know if they have this kind of pull when it's their home field to say, hey, the time limit is 20 minutes. Opposing fan bases or opposing teams, North Carolina, Florida State, Duke, you got 20 minutes to get off the field, to get all your stuff off the field, and have a big old timer on the Jumbotron. It says 20 minutes. And as soon as that game goes final, you start that countdown, and 20 minutes is your timer to say, when this is done, you can meet at the Paul.
And again, if it's 5...
Is that enough time?
I think it is. I think it's plenty of time.
15, if you want to call it 15?
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, but I think it's plenty of time, whether it's 10 or 15 minutes, but I just don't know that fans hang around that long after a game. I mean, maybe some do that have, friends, family, cheerleaders, whatever. It's really interesting because Clemson does, Diesel, catch a lot of heat for the gathering at the Paul, even, after a win over, let's say, Virginia Tech. But now with this new news from the ACC, that could be in jeopardy. By the way, Tolo's good to be back. Diesel killed it yesterday by himself, I'm sure. I couldn't listen. Had some fun deep-sea fishing in Murrells Inlet. And I'll tell you this, Diesel, I'm still in my head like...
yeah, takes a little while to get over it.
For those that aren't watching the stream.
Uh-huh.
Emotion. I didn't get sick. Everybody else did, but I didn't get sick.
You didn't chum the waters?
No. We had plenty of chumming. It just wasn't for me.
Speaking of chum, the Atlanta Braves, as bad as they have been, are they even worth talking about anymore? I think we've both come to the decision that they're not fun. So we need a decision from you, Tolos, as far as what do you want us to do? If we're not going to cover the Braves, then should we pick a second-half team to cover for the rest of the 2025 season? That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. it's so much more fun to talk about a winner on this show because, Cole, you and I have a chance to be winners. We're up for Sports Talk Show of the Year here in South Carolina. The Star Awards coming up in just about 10 days. I don't know if you're nervous or not about whether or not we're going to win this thing.
I hate to say this. Maybe I shouldn't. It is it is not anywhere high on my list of things that I care about right now. Sorry.
But in that sense, Cole, we want to talk about winners, right? There's a reason why, not just proximity, there's a reason why we like to talk about Clemson and South Carolina because they're winners, and we don't talk about Wake Forest very much on this show. We don't talk about
need to talk more Wake
Georgia
Forest,
Tech.
by the
No,
way.
we don't. No, and to Rob's point about his promo, is this the year that Georgia Tech makes some noise? They better, because this is their last chance for probably like a decade.
Oh, man.
Because who knows? Who knows how long it's going to be until they actually have a competent quarterback again. But, Major League Baseball is the summer sport. It is the summer sport outside of golf, and we're not having a lot of fun talking about these Atlanta Braves because they stink. They're no fun to talk about. Yeah, Ronnie can make great individual plays, but you can't talk about that every single day. You want a good team to talk about. So I'm going to run through some nominees, Cole, based on actual demographic information and ask you and the Tolos if I can convince you to want us to cover one of these other teams that are the highest rated when it comes to demographics in our area.
Okay.
And if we can't come to a consensus, our only options left are keep covering the terrible Braves or don't talk about baseball at all until the postseason.
And by the way, to your point about individual play, Diesel, the play, whatever day it was it Friday or Saturday over the weekend that Acuna made?
Over the shoulder and then doubled up.
I don't know if I've ever in my life seen a play like that. I mean, flat-footed.
Yeah.
He throws it just casually, like it's an everyday throw. And that was lazy base running, by the way.
So
I was just astonished.
I didn't see the full field view of what that Yankees base runner did. Did he not know that it was caught?
Just wasn't hustling.
Because he got doubled up at third, which I would assume he was supposed to go back to second. So did he?
Oh no, he tagged up.
He tagged. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so
Just
that's the part I
lazy.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, just laziness.
He was lollygagging.
Yeah, I mean, you think you can get from second to third.
Lollygag. Yeah, okay.
And it was at the very end. At the very end, he kind of just he slowed up, and Acuna just put. I'll tell you this: for as bad as the season's been, I think that was one of the best plays I've ever seen in my entire life by Ronald Acuna. I mean, it was special, and sadly, you know what? It was. Well, no, that was actually. I think that was a win. The only win the Braves got that last week.
You guys, you lollygag the ball around the infield. You lollygag your way down to first. You lollygag in and out of the dugout. You know what that makes you?
Lollygaggers?
Lollygaggers.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
But they still beat the Braves 2 out of 3.
Yeah, well, the Yankees are actually a competent team.
Yeah.
And the Braves are not. So, again, I want to find out from you, Tolos, if I can convince you to allow us to cover another team for the last half of the season, or do we cover the terrible Braves, or do we not cover Major League Baseball at all? So, pretending for a moment, because we all know the Braves are the number one team here in the area. Demographics say roughly 50% of Major League Baseball fans in South Carolina support the Braves, and that is by far and away more than any other team. It's just a couple hours away. We all grew up with the Braves. We all have very deep-rooted reasons to be a fan of the Atlanta Braves, and that's probably true for a vast majority of the state of North Carolina as well. Of course, the state of Georgia, a big chunk of Alabama, probably Mississippi, and a huge part of Tennessee until you get all the way out there in the West, and maybe there's some Cardinal fans over there.
What's funny is, I'm glad you brought that up, because over the weekend, I saw a map on social media, a side-by-side map of the South, even the Southeast, like the lower third of the country. The amount of NFL teams in that map is like this. Boom, 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 boom. Seriously. from New Orleans to Atlanta to Florida, right? The amount of MLB teams, Diesel, in the Southeast, there's one.
Yeah.
So it's been that way for a very long time. I'm surprised it hasn't changed. But when you talk about from, Louisiana, when you get out of Texas and you start talking about parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way up to North Carolina, Virginia, it's Braves country.
I'm looking at the map right now. This is on Time Magazine.
Yeah.
And the map has the vast majority, except for the far western part, the whole Memphis area of Tennessee, all Braves fans.
Yeah.
Braves get a southern part of West Virginia, barely. They get the western part of Virginia, and then you get a line traveling from basically the middle of the mountains down to Myrtle Beach, and then it wraps all the way around the north part of Florida. You get all of South Carolina, all of Georgia, all of Alabama, all of Mississippi, and the Mississippi River is essentially the line. For whatever reason, this map says that people in New Orleans love the Yankees, which I don't get. I mean, I would think that they're Astros fans, unless the folks of New Orleans just have this deep-seated hatred and rivalry with the city of Houston, but it's their closest team other than the Braves. So
it's crazy, man. Texter, I'm trying to get some of these texts. Tennessee Tyler says Braves are living up to their dumpster fire season with those horrible 90s jockey lot hats for the Speedway game at Bristol. You still have that coming up. Twisted Whisker talking about going back to the rush in the field. He said, imagine Doug Flutie's Hail Mary for the win and asking fans to wait 20 minutes. That's good. JT in Greer says, I'm still interested in the Braves, but yes, they are bad. And it's sad, JT, but that's where we are. Lefty Tiger says, no more Braves. Cover Seattle.
Yeah, okay. Sure. You know what, Lefty Tiger? Let's jump in. Let's dive straight into Seattle Mariners. And
boy.
Look, I know that the Braves hold 50% of the audience here, but the other 50%, because we got a lot of people moving here, right? Like a lot of people from Ohio move here. A lot of people from West Virginia, North Carolina move down here. We're all scattered the other 50%. So, Tolos, if you're not a fan of the Braves, now's your chance to nominate your team as far as who we cover for the rest of the season. But I've got some ideas here for you, Cole. And this is not just me making this stuff up, okay? This is based on demographics, about, relocation patterns over the last 15, 20 years or so. The number 2 team in the state of South Carolina, and you can reject these if you want to and tell me why. According to this, the number 2 team in the state of South Carolina should be the Boston Red Sox, because about 10% of the state's population in South Carolina are all originally from Massachusetts. Or let me rephrase that. 10% of baseball fans in the state have said they love the Red Sox. So I said that wrong the first time.
I can see that. There are a lot of Red Sox fans out there. They have a large fan base, right? Mm-hmm. It's like Ohio State. There's Red Sox fans everywhere. I will say I would have thought, if I had to guess at what 2 or 3 would have been, I would have guessed Cleveland, the Guardians, just because of how many people from Ohio have migrated down to
Makes sense.
North Carolina, South Carolina. But Boston, I mean, it's like the Yankees, Dodgers, Cowboys.
Yeah.
They have a big fan base, right? They're everywhere. And I know a lot of Boston fans.
Making the case for Boston here, and we'll circle back around. Making the case for Boston. They're a good team this year. They're 54-48. They're not great, but they're good. 54-48. They got a young core of players. They're probably going to be better in like 2 years than they are right now. But Rafael Devers is on the team. He's an all-star third baseman. There's Tristan Casas, who's a rising star at first base with big power if he's healthy. Jaron Duran, an exciting outfielder. He had a good year last year. So, there's some reasons. If you're a baseball fan and you just love the purity of the game, there's 3 good players on that team to follow. Number 3 team in the state of South Carolina. Again, this is all according to demographics. The Washington Nationals. Now, it's going to be a tough sell for a lot of reasons. Number 1, they stink too. They're 48-60. So why are we going to stop covering one crappy team to go cover another crappy team? They're also in the Braves division. So that's a big reason not to follow the Washington
I was going to say
Nationals.
the Braves division being the number 1 for me as to why, not only not to follow them, but why a lot of people around here can't stand them, right? With them being in the NL East, I could see that.
RJ says second half coverage nominee, the Red Sox. Plus, we have the Greenville Drive right here in our backyard.
Yeah, Greenville Drive, being a Red Sox affiliate makes sense. And again, I know, there are a lot of Red Sox fans out there. A lot of Ranger fans, people, for whatever reason.
And we get to see their players on the way up as well in Spartanburg.
That's what I'm saying. We have the Rangers and Spartanburg both. It's cool. I'll tell you this, being out in the community at different events and, wherever, I like meeting people who are fans of other MLB teams because it makes conversation fun.
Now, obviously, it would be best case scenario for us to still have the G Braves, G Braves were AA, right? To have the AA affiliate here, because then those guys are, 2 steps away from being at the majors. But if we couldn't have the G Braves, it would be really nice to have another NL team, especially having like a Nationals affiliate here. If the Drive were a Nationals affiliate instead, then you'd have an in-division team that you'd be like, that guy that plays for the Drive, we're going to see him on the opposite side in a couple of years. According to demographics, the fourth largest fan base, and this would be third largest outside of the Braves here in the upstate, in the state of South Carolina, should be another NL team, the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you have any interest in following the St. Louis Cardinals? They're 52-49, so they're not in the division. They're a decent team. They're in the hunt. They got Paul Goldschmidt. They got Wilson Contreras. No,
not on St. Louis. Curve Street, you could. He's a big St. Louis guy.
Is he?
He's a big St. Louis fan. Yeah. Not me though.
And number 5 on this list, another NL team in the Central, the Cincinnati Reds, 52-49.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kurt's a Cincinnati Reds fan. I apologize.
Any interest in following the Reds? They got Ellie De La Cruz.
I'd like to go to their stadium.
Hunter Green, that guy's going to be an ace one day. He's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So, Tolos, would you like us to actually cover one of those teams or no baseball at all?
It's a good question.
Oh,
it really is.
Texter said Rafael Devers got traded like a month ago. Didn't know that. Thank you. Well, see, there you go. It's because we don't cover them every day, Texter. We don't cover them every day.
Diesel, let's tell the Tolos what we have coming up on tomorrow's show in the very next segment. Also, get into something. I don't know if you got into this yesterday or not, but the WNBA with the Pay Us What We're Worth t-shirts. I love that. Did you? We'll talk about it next. A big show coming your way tomorrow, Tolos. Diesel and I will join Rob Brown in Charlotte for ACC kickoff. That will be tomorrow and Thursday. We already have 4 guests scheduled for tomorrow's show. It very possibly could grow. We don't know, but we do know it'll be a lot of fun the next 2 days live in Charlotte. Diesel kicking things off tomorrow. How about the Orange? A little Syracuse. Fran Brown's pretty busy from what their SID told me, but we are getting Dan Villari and Jack Stonehouse of Syracuse to kick off the show tomorrow. Talk a little ACC football with some current college players. Michael Strickland, ACC Senior Vice President for football, will join us at 3:30. That's big. That's fun. That'll be interesting to talk to him about things like the new rule changes that we talked about today. And then at 4 o'clock, Gary Stoken, good friend of the show. I'm going to lead with that instead of Peach Bowl CEO. That's important too. But Diesel, we've had Gary on several times. He's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, the last time we had him on, where was he? He was in like L.A. or something, coming to us live from
some beach or something.
Some beach, some big event. He was like, "Yeah, we were partying the night before. Now we're hanging out on the beach." I'm like, man, I want to be you.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be a millionaire CEO, right?
Twould be nice.
Peach Bowl CEO Gary Stoken. So those 4 joining us, probably a lot more. Clemson will be in attendance on Thursday. Clemson's schedule's pretty jammed up. We don't know who we'll be able to get or if any at all, but we will be trying our best to bring you some live interviews. We'll definitely get some audio to you. Rob Brown's already compiled a lot of audio from today's ACC Media Day that we'll be sharing with you at 5 o'clock. So make sure you turn it on and leave it on tomorrow and Thursday as Diesel and I will be in Charlotte at ACC kickoff. Diesel, over the weekend, the WNBA players, select players wore Pay Us What We're Worth shirts. And, what's kind of funny about those shirts is the fact that if WNBA players were smart with marketing and really thought this out in terms of what they put on their shirts, maybe they would have a better message. Because if the WNBA paid the players what they were worth, guess what? The players would be actually paying the WNBA back money because the WNBA is non-profitable. They're not a profitable league. So pay us what we're worth. What does that mean? Well, you're not worth anything. The league doesn't profit. The messaging, not good. The actual message, we get it. You want more money, but there is no money.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the players are making sub-6 figures, and people would say things like, well, you're playing a game. You get free meals. You get essentially free medical care from your employer. But these are professional athletes probably making, I think they're making around $75,000 a year, which again, a lot of people will say, man, I'd love to be making $75,000 a year, especially to play a game. The problem is, Cole, they signed a bad deal. The CBA in the WNBA is only triggered. It only triggers this revenue sharing clause if revenue grows by 20% in a season, and players have never reached that threshold. 20% for any league is a big jump in revenue. And even if, the Caitlin Clark era, which has been a huge boon to the league, anytime she's in town, ticket sales go up like crazy. They need like 5 Caitlin Clarks in the league at any given time to get this to where it needs to go. The problem is they signed a bad deal. There's a salary cap that's fixed per team, around $1.5 million per team. It's not tied to revenue growth, and they only get a pay raise if they increase league-wide revenue by 20%.
I would like to see, when it comes to WNBA, Diesel, I would like to see their bank statements. And I'm being serious. I would like to see, and not to get into a finance conversation here, but when you talk about P&L and net and gross and what the WNBA loses and why they lose it, I would seriously like to see what their biggest expenses are. Because if you look at this league, to your point, the points that you just made about salaries, Diesel, it's real simple. They're not playing enough games for the math to math. And when you look at what their biggest expenses are, which I would assume are player salaries, something's got to give. I don't know if they're like eating up their entire cap with facilities and more, whatever it is. I would like to see what their top 3 spends are from the WNBA's perspective, because if you get right down to it, if the math isn't mathing, you need to come up with a new strategy for your league on how you can still pay the players but also still be profitable, because what they're doing right now is it's failing, and even Caitlin Clark can't fix it.
If you want to keep it fair, and I agree there's inequity there. If you want to keep it fair, the NBA plays 82 games and players there receive roughly 50% of league revenue. WNBA players only play 40-game regular season. So why not up their 10% of revenue to 25% of revenue, and then there you go. Or you could just say, all right, NBA, we're not gonna fund you anymore. You figure it out on your own, and then see what happens then.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It really is.
When we come back, Cole, week number 1 is barreling out. It's just 4 weeks from now. So I want to rank the 4 best games in week number 1 and include 2 games that are not as big as people think they are. They look good on paper, but they're not as big as people think they are. That's next on the Fan Upstate. Just 4 weeks away, Cole, from week number 1, where a week is actually 10 days. Make it make sense. It is what it is. We're not going to dive deep into that again today. But 4 weeks away from week 1 of college football. The first couple of games, stinkers, duds. No one's really going to pay attention to it. But we are, in theory, realistically, 5 weeks away from good football. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready, but I will tell you this: it wouldn't matter, Diesel, if Alabama A&T were playing Florida United Central Methodist Community College on that Saturday, because I've waited all off season.
What are the mascots of those teams?
The Bears and the Raiders.
The Bears.
Yeah, those are the two. And I waited all season, so I would watch anything. I mean, we're 4 weeks. High school football, college football. I don't care who it is. It's going to be on TV, and I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to watch. I can't wait.
I don't care if it's bad football. I don't care if it's Division II football. I'm watching. I love college football more than I love a lot of other things in this world. Not the wife, not the dog. College football might be number 3.
Yeah, and if you don't have a wife or a dog like I do, it's way up there.
That's all you got in your life, especially when the Braves stink. So 4 games that are the most tectonic, seismic games of week number 1 that is, again, 10 days long. These are the easy ones, and we'll see if you agree with my list. And then outside of that, Cole, we're going to do 2 games that are big but for other reasons.
Like UNLV.
Could be.
Okay, gotcha.
And we're going to do 2 games that seem big, but like really aren't.
Yeah.
Like it seems like, whoa, big names.
By the way,
but it doesn't really mean a lot.
You'll like this. Before we get into that, I had a friend of mine yesterday. What was yesterday? Monday? No, Sunday. Friend of mine, Sunday, we were hanging out, and he said, hey, I didn't get in last year, but I want to get in on the Upset Picks Challenge. He's a Tolo. He listens. And he said, I'm excited. He did. He told me he didn't want to start halfway last year, but I've already got people talking to me ready for the upset picks.
Yeah. Well,
that's soon, by the way.
We're gonna ask this question as well. And I want you, Tolos, to go ahead and start getting in on this. Do you want us to separate out week 0 and week 1 games again this year? There's not a lot to choose from.
5.
Wait. In week 0, it would be the 5 or so games that are being played
1, 2, 3, 4
on the 23rd.
Well, here it is. The 23rd has 5 games.
Yep.
And then Thursday starts the next week. So I think it would be 5.
Correct.
And then the next week, right?
Correct. So we did this last year.
Yeah.
And
let's do it.
It's easier.
Let's start the day.
It's easier this year because it's easier now because we get more lines on these things. Now that ESPN is the one putting lines on it. But week 0, we would have Idaho State, UNLV, Iowa State, Kansas State, Fresno State, Kansas, Sam Houston, Western Kentucky, and Stanford, Hawaii. There will absolutely be lines on those 4 games. I don't know about Idaho State versus UNLV because Idaho State is an FCS team. I don't know if there's going to be a line on that one, but we would have 4 games to choose from for sure in week 0. So, Tolos, do you want us to separate out week 0 or smash them all together and make them week 1? Because then that's a long time to wait.
I say we do.
For week number 2.
My opinion, I say we start and do 5. Yeah, 5, man.
Dan says, I'd just say combine the 5 with the next week. Last year we had 20-some people start with 20 points after week 0.
You know how long we have to wait?
That means we got to wait another week before we truly start the contest, Dan.
I don't like that.
And then what if somebody wanted to pick that one and they couldn't pick a game
because it already happened?
Because it already happened.
I'm ready. I'm so fired up. You have no idea.
844-326-3663. Combine them, separate them. You tell us. 844-FAN phone on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. This one's easy, Cole, though, to point out the biggest game of week number 1.
Yeah, man.
It is
Idaho State and UNLV.
Absolutely Idaho State UNLV. We'll see what the running Rebels can do. No, it's Texas Ohio State. Arch Manning is here. It's officially his team. There are some limited question marks about Texas. But with Ohio State, you got a new quarterback breaking in a new QB. Kyle McCord is gone. So what do they do? Kyle. Will Howard. Will Howard is gone. What do they do? That is a fascinating game. That's a fascinating game. A huge one.
Yeah, look, anytime Ohio State's involved, it's big. With Will Howard gone, to your point, what does quarterback position look like? Did you rank this numero uno?
This is my number one. This is my number one. This is as big as it gets.
Yeah.
National, this could be another national championship preview.
Yeah, it could. Arch factor, right? Anytime a Manning is involved with it, it's going to be big. So here's my problem with this first one, ranking number one. I have the local tie, right, to Clemson LSU. So my heart wants to tell me Clemson LSU's number one. That's what my heart wants to tell me.
Uh-huh.
But then from a national perspective, let's ask some national writers out there over the next couple of weeks, what's the bigger game from a national perspective? Maybe it is Ohio State, Texas, because Ohio State's such a big brand and fan base and Manning, right? Maybe that's the bigger draw nationally. But it's hard for me not to say Clemson LSU won, right? It's tough.
I have Clemson LSU as my number two game.
Yeah.
Clemson LSU is my number. I mean, obviously, both of these are national championship contenders. Clemson is as loaded as they're gonna be for a while in this new era where portal players are going all over the place, and it's harder and harder to get the elites of the elites to sign on at Clemson. Because even if Clemson goes to win a national championship this year, that's nothing to say that the 26 class won't be splintered apart by other programs offering more money.
Yeah.
So
you have that as two.
That's my number two. The expectations so high right here.
You got two
Garrett
Heisman.
Nussmeier with LSU, two Heisman contenders. It's
tough.
on campus. I mean, that's great. I'm so glad that we're getting away from neutral site games. I hated neutral site games.
I'm with you on that. I just think from a collegiate standpoint, it's so hard to beat the on-campus feel, the on-campus environment, right? Like South Carolina, Virginia Tech, that game's not really big in terms of national draw. So maybe I'm a little okay with it being a neutral game. Like, South Carolina would pack it out. Virginia Tech, it'd be whatever, Like, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if it were in Blacksburg.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. It would be a shame to see either one of Texas, Ohio State, or Clemson, LSU neutral side.
My number three, and this is where it starts to get a little wonky. You got to start making decisions here. My number three is Miami, Notre Dame.
Oh,
actually, Notre Dame, Miami.
Over Stony Brook, San Diego State?
Yeah, believe it or not.
You're kidding me?
Believe it or not, because it always feels like there's a playoff spot earmarked for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Carson Beck is at Miami. And Cristobal.
They can afford
this has got to be
$1
this has got to be the year that Miami gets back, because Miami isn't back until they're actually back, and they're not back until they make a national championship game. I'm not going to say they have to win the national championship game to be back, but sitting there on the outside looking in, or
I think they have to
getting beat out in a round one game.
I think they have to make a playoff run to be back.
Yeah.
Win a game or two, which puts you right there close.
But can 1 year get you back? Are you back after 1 year?
It's tough to say after 1 year.
No. I mean, if they'd made it last year and Cam Ward got him into the playoff and won a game, and then they did it again with Carson Beck, then you might be able to say, okay, Miami's back. But Miami ain't back.
Well, if you got to win the conference. You got to start by winning the conference.
Also true.
Right?
You got to actually win something. You
got to win the conference. I'm looking, man. I'll be honest with you.
Is this even in your top four?
Yeah, I mean it's top four. I'm looking down the list now, and Bethune FIU is probably ahead of that. The Bears, I believe.
Bethune. That's the sound it makes when you flick that little springy thing on the back of the door.
Am I saying that right? Bethune. I mean, I'm pronouncing it right?
Yep.
Look, number three. I mean, I'm with you on number 1 and 2. Bama, Florida State's up there.
That's my 4. That's my number 4.
Long Island versus Florida. I mean, what a good one there. Yeah, that's tough. Again, deciding 1, 2, and 3, 4 here, they're both tough arguments because I can see where you'd say Notre Dame being the national brand could be 3.
Norvell's got Florida State, hopefully, back on the rise. Their recruiting classes are looking really good, but we're worried about what's happening in week number 1, not what's happening in 2026 or 2027. And is this going to be the year Alabama fans say enough is enough? We're going to fire Kalen DeBoer because he didn't go out there.
God.
He didn't live up to Nick Saban. I mean, I hate to tell him, if you fire Kalen DeBoer, the guy that they hire after Kalen DeBoer probably not going to be as good as Nick Saban either. So you're going to be going through this every other year until Kirby Smart takes the job at Alabama, or you just get lucky.
I like Florida State, Bama. I just don't know, like, realistically. Florida State's a brand that we all know, but realistically, is that game going to be competitive? I don't know, man.
I give them something for it being at Doak.
Do you? I mean, like,
for this one, I am.
Last year's team was just so bad. I mean, it was terrible in terms of what they'd lost, the year before, coming back, and the transfer portal just eating them alive.
Construction's done, by the way, at Doak Campbell Stadium.
I'll tell you this. I really want Florida State Bama to be a good game. Mm-hmm. But I have as much faith in Florida State Bama being a good game, Diesel, as I do in North Carolina TCU on Labor Day being a good game.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
Okay. So is it even in your top 4?
Yeah, it's top 4. You talking about Florida State Bama?
Yeah. It's my number 4.
Yeah. I think it'd be right there around 4.
And there's not a ton of amazing games in week 1, right? I mean, most of these teams are playing sacrificial lambs in week number 1.
A lot of nobodies.
Yeah. So there you go. My 1 through 4, I've got Ohio State, Texas is my number 1. I've got Clemson, LSU, my number 2. I've got Notre Dame, Miami. You factor in the history there as well. That's my number 3. And the number 4 is Alabama, Florida State. Anybody got anything else they want to nominate? Now is the time. 844
Top 5, yeah.
326-3663.
I can't believe Abilene Christian and Tulsa wasn't nominated that week 1. I mean, that's a big one. Bryant, New Mexico. I'm kidding. So who was your 5 again?
I didn't have a 5.
Oh, you did.
This is the top 4. This is the top 4.
Yeah,
now,
you have 4.
I could say that one of the games, I've got 2 more games that are big for other reasons.
Yeah.
And I've got 2 more games that seem really big, but actually aren't.
Okay.
One of those could be that number 5 spot. Maybe, but.
Was Colorado, Georgia Tech in one of those, by the way?
It's not.
That's an interesting one for me. I think if you had to have the conversation about games that aren't big but are still that still hold a lot of meaning, like to me, that game still holds a lot of meaning nationally because
that seems like a 13-10 kind of game, honestly.
Georgia Tech, Colorado.
Yeah, Georgia Tech, Colorado, 13-10. Low scoring because it's early in the season. Colorado, they have to kick a lot of field goals because they don't have any offense or defense left.
If you had to guess, don't look, by the way, don't look at your computer, but if you had to guess what the spread is on that game right now, who would you say is favored and by how much?
Say Georgia Tech's probably favored by 2.5?
4.5, so not far off.
Georgia Tech on the road favored by 4.5.
Georgia Tech's favored on the road, right. 4.5. That game, by the way, is Friday night at 8 o'clock. That is the 29th. So you've got, like, you talk about those 5 games the first Saturday. So think about this. You've got 5 games that Saturday. Then the next Thursday, you get kicked off with Stony Brook, San Diego State. I mean, get your popcorn ready. On Thursday, you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16 games on Thursday. Followed by a Friday night, Diesel, on that first week. Are you calling that week 1, by the way? I guess.
Yes.
About 10 more games on Friday night. All before Saturday. that Texas-Ohio State game at noon. By the way, Buckeye Brian asked, why is the game at 12? Buckeye Brian, it's Texas-Ohio State. It's the biggest game. They want that. I would imagine, to answer your question, I would imagine that they want the start of college football essentially to start at noon with the biggest game. College game day will be there, right? I mean, if you had to wait all night, plus Clemson LSU, by the way, is the night game that night. So you start with Texas Ohio State, and then at 7:30 you get Clemson LSU.
Yeah, big start. They don't want to ease into things. They want to get things going quickly. So Tolos, we have a vote here from Tennessee Tyler. He says separate out week 0. Sounds like we have one or two others.
Yeah, you got to me. It's going to be separated.
So yeah, Tolos, is there a legitimate point for combining them?
I don't know. I
don't think that there is.
I don't know what the advantage to combine. What's the advantage to
because there's a
combining
limited number of games to select.
It makes it hard though.
It does. I mean,
you would think it would make it easy for the upset picks challenge, but I don't think it does.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to bet here.
What'd you say? 5 games?
There's 5 games to choose from.
Yeah, I think it makes it more difficult because look at those games.
Possibly just 4 because I don't know if there's going to be a line on Idaho State UNLV because that's an FCS versus FBS matchup.
We'll find a line. We'll make a line.
Iowa State, K-State's going to have a line. Fresno State, Kansas, yes. Sam Houston, Western, yes.
There's already
Stanford, Hawaii.
Already lines on those 4, but like you said, we use the ESPN lines.
Yes. Another texter asked, can we use the CBS sports betting lines instead of ESPN lines, especially since you're no longer affiliated with ESPN? Why, texter? Why would we use the CBS lines instead?
Plus, nobody has a CBS app.
People are going to go to ESPN.com. It's the biggest one. That's where everybody's going to go. So we're not going to change things now.
Speaking of the biggest, we have Rob Brown joining us in the very next segment. I don't know if that means like biggest in personality, size. You can kind of define it however you would want to.
Rob's on the back end of the stream. Why is he doing like this thing here? Why is he measuring it out with his hands?
He's field goal.
Okay.
Something to do with a field goal. He's an ACC media.
I can kick a little paper football at you right now. If it hits the screen, it's through.
Rob's in Charlotte. We'll be there tomorrow to join them, but let's go ahead and start the conversation right now. We go to Charlotte, North Carolina. Rob Brown joins the show next. let's take the show. Let's take you Tolos on a trip to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Diesel and I will be tomorrow and Thursday. Rob Brown, the Rob Brown Show, is there right now as we speak. He's there with the ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, Miami, SMU, Stanford, Cal, and Virginia. Kind of a boring-ish lineup in day one in my mind, other than Miami. Obviously, Jennings and SMU will create some buzz as well, Rob. But let's start with old Jim Phillips, the Commissioners Forum this morning, about the time you were wrapping up the Rob Brown Show. For anybody out there that has not heard Jim Phillips and what he said this morning, what are the biggest takeaways? What do the Tolos out there need to know that Jim Phillips highlighted this morning? Oh, wow.
And I've been here 4 years. This is my fourth consecutive year. I love coming here. It's a great event. They do a great job. But for a dude that's supposed to be up there, to me, Rob Shishbu buying the ACC to try to convince the college landscape that obviously knows that the ACC is a distant third place to the SEC and the Big Ten, that they are a conference that is worth paying attention to, worth investing in, worth watching football on Saturdays. It was very just kind of like, all right, and we have this, and then we do this, and we made this much money. And it was like, dude, like I don't know, maybe this is just being nitpicky as somebody who is one of those 1% of people who actually kind of enjoy public speaking. Like, give me some gas, man. But I think what you hit on was the ACC was going out of their way today to pimp the out-of-conference schedule that they play. It is, statistically speaking, in terms of teams that were ranked last year and are entering this year ranked, the ACC has arguably the most difficult out-of-conference schedule of any of the major conferences.
Yeah, because they're playing out of conference.
That's it. They want you to know that. And again, it is credited, and this was kind of the takeaway for me, because when you listen to these speeches, fellas, you guys have done this for a long time. When you listen to these speeches and you really kind of take what they say and go one step further with those thoughts and one step more logically with those thoughts, what you'll hear is, instead of we play the hardest out of conference schedule in football, guys, on week 3, there are 3 ACC versus SEC matchups right out of the freaking gate, right? Like you're the reason you have the toughest out of conference is because you have so many ACC, SEC games this year. So, like, yeah, you stacked SEC opponents. Of course, your schedule's tough when that conference might be the best that it ever is. They also went on to point that they made the third most money and the finances are up. They also obviously spent some time hitting on the lawsuit settlements from Florida State and Clemson. They're going to all 3 of those parties are going to spend the next few days trying to spin it as, it's 2 great entities trying to come into an agreement of mutual beneficiary for both of us. And the reality of the situation is, Clemson and Florida State needed to make sure that when they leave in 3, 4, 5, 6 years, however it is, they take their TV rights with them. And the ACC wanted to buy themselves as much time as they could to figure out what in the HE double hockey sticks they're going to do when their biggest brands leave inevitably the conference down the line. They all got what they want. We know Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, probably Duke, probably Virginia, Virginia Tech are all going to go. And the question mark is, can the ACC survive after that? Look at what's happening in the Pac-12 right now, and the answer is a resounding and hearty, probably not.
Rob, I mean, we all are sitting and waiting for the day that Miami is officially back, and it feels, to quote a Metallica song title, it feels like the day that never comes, that Miami is always going to struggle and have issues with getting ahead in this modern landscape of college football. I mean, is an SEC quarterback the answer for how to get Miami football on track, for how to change things?
I would say the answer to that is a hearty resounding maybe. Diesel. Carson Beck comes over. I got a chance to talk to him very briefly today. Unfortunately, he did not have time to fit us into a Radio Row interview, but I did get to have a minute of conversation. And I will tell you, the kid is straight edge, man. Like there's not a lot of emotion. There's not a lot of tone to him. He's a nice enough guy, shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, all that great stuff. But like there's no gas, no energy. But that's okay, right? Like you don't necessarily have to have that to have a great quarterback. You look at a dude who left Georgia with a record of 24-3. You look at a dude who guided Georgia to an SEC championship last year. He didn't get knocked out into the championship game. You look at a guy that perhaps had he stayed healthy, maybe Georgia is your reigning defending undisputed national champions right now. Can't say that for certain. Ohio State was very good, but solid maybe is in play. I'll tell you what, to me, the big question about Miami is, because they just had a number 1 overall selection at quarterback, right? The problem for me with Miami is, and I said this a couple of times today with the Miami guys all kind of huddled around the table, my question isn't the quarterback, Diesel. It's Mario Cristobal himself. It's the head coach. Miami missed the playoffs last year as a 10-2 football team. One more win there. And honestly, we could probably make the argument that they should have climbed in at the end, but because SMU had that record and played for a title, they got the benefit of the doubt and got to go. Miami, you could argue, should have been in last year. Why did Miami not get in? Because in a game against Georgia Tech, when they had the lead with 30, whatever it was, or a minute and some odd seconds left to go and the football, all they had to do was kneel 3 times. And even if something goes catastrophically wrong, worst case scenario, you're punting on 4th down with 1 second left to play, and Georgia Tech's got to have a miracle. Instead, what do? They run the football. They inexplicably run the football in a decision that my 6-year-old nephew, who has learned football playing EA on Xbox, would go, Uncle Rob, what the heck are they doing here? And I would say, I don't know, kid. I don't think that's a very smart play either. They run the football. The running back fumbles it. Georgia Tech gets it. They go the length of the field in 1.5 bucks. They score. Georgia Tech wins that game, and that game kept them out of the playoff. The difference between Miami and a playoff and a run last year, because I think there were 3 or 4 teams that Miami was better than last year. The difference last year was not Cam Ward. It was not a quarterback. The difference last year was Mario Cristobal and the coaching staff making consecutive and repeated bonehead decisions down the stretch. So my question is, can they not do that anymore? Because if the answer is yes, I think Miami will be a playoff team this year. If the answer is no, Clemson runs away with the division. Miami's 10-2, and they're trying to backdoor their way in for a second year in a row.
Rob, you mentioned SMU. They are one of the 5 teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams today in attendance in Charlotte. Really interesting. We talk about Cade Klubnik. We talk about Carson Beck. SMU returning 7 starters on offense, 5 on defense to their 2025 team. And Kelvin Jennings Jr., I mean, last year was one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. I know this ACC isn't anything, to your point from earlier, anything like the SEC or the Big Ten, but still, Kelvin Jennings Jr. is a very formidable quarterback. In your mind, with SMU in attendance today, they spoke around lunchtime, I believe, 12 or 12:30. Are we not valuing what Kelvin Jennings can do in his senior season enough?
I mean, I don't know who we is. I think I got SMU playing for another ACC title this year. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know who we is. Here's what I will say. I got asked the question on a national show a little earlier this week or late last week. I don't know. Time's a blur. I'm very tired. And the question that I got asked was, Rob Brown, you've been doing these media days for a handful of years. Has anybody ever changed your mind? Has anybody won you over? Have you ever gone into one with an opinion about a team or a coach or a quarterback or a player and had that opinion switched because of a media day? And the answer is yes. And there are 2 or 3 specific examples that I would give you. One is Brent Key at Georgia Tech, who I absolutely love. That dude's a football dude. He's just football all the time. I am a believer that if Georgia Tech is ever going to have an opportunity to like take that step up from 3rd tier to 2nd tier, and then maybe one day in the future get to 1st tier, it'll be under Brent Key. Another guy who did that was Kevin Jennings in SMU. Last year, I talked with Rhett Lashley. Rhett Lashley was singing this kid's praises, but remember, he was QB2 going into last year. Preston Stone was QB1, and Preston Stone was a Heisman hopeful for SMU. Rhett Lashley said this kid, Kevin Jennings, he's not going to be the guy this year. We're going to 2-quarterback the guy, but the year after that, watch out, which would have been this year. Kevin Jennings took that man's job. Now, I said at ACC Media Days 1 year ago today, last year, after that conversation with Rhett Lashley, I had about a 30-minute window before I had Kevin Jennings sit down to do an interview because we didn't get Preston Stone. He was a Heisman favorite. And I spent that 30 minutes just watching Kevin Jennings highlights, watching this kid play. And I made the prediction on the air 1 year ago today, that kid is going to be QB1 by the end of this year. If they are going to run a 2-quarterback system, Kevin Jennings is going to take that kid's job. And not only did he, but he brought SMU to an ACC title game. And let's keep it a buck, Cole Bryson. You and I both know it. But he had Clemson on the ropes, hitting him with the rope-a-dope for a hot minute there before Clemson played some hero ball in the fourth quarter to steal that title. This kid is a stud. If you were asking me to rank the quarterbacks in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year, power ranking 1 through 17 of who is the best, I got to tell you, if Cade Klubnik is number 1, in my opinion, Kevin Jennings is in his back pocket as a 1A or a number 2. And I would honestly put Carson Beck probably 3 behind him, to tell you the truth.
Rob, do we know if Stanford and Cal carpooled to get to ACC Media Days? Both of them having to fly across country. I can't imagine they flew private from the state of California. But man, what a weird moment to have Frank Reich back in Charlotte for this event, having obviously just coached the Carolina Panthers. He's at Stanford now. I mean, obviously they had a pretty abysmal season last year, only 3 wins. But the good thing for Stanford is they set up very nicely over the first 5 weeks. On the road at Hawaii, on the road at BYU, that's going to be the lone toughie. Boston College, at Virginia, and then San Jose State. I got no reason to believe that Stanford will not be at worst 3-2 over that first 5-game stretch. They may not be a much improved team, but they're going to feel like it over those first 5 weeks. And then after that, it gets real tough down the stretch. But what's your outlook for Frank Reich now being the head man there at Stanford?
You may be right, Diesel, about all of that. You may be absolutely correct. I'm going to keep it a buck. I spent a lot of time looking at Stanford today because on the show this morning, we basically went up and down every preseason prognostication I could come up with for every team in this league. Because for me, it's Clemson's league right now. Right now, I'm not saying they will win it, but it feels like coming into this, they are going to be the consensus pick to win it. They're the odds-on favorite. They're a playoff favorite, yada, yada, yada. And so for me, as somebody who covers Clemson, I really wanted to make sure I dove into the other 16 teams so everybody knows what threats are coming from where. And I'll keep it a buck. I don't think Stanford's going to be very good this year. They might be 3-2. They might be 2-3. They might be 1-4. I don't know what this team's going to be. I think we all got very close with Frank Reich. Here's the thing. Does Frank Reich's a QB guy, or at least he's supposed to be, right? Bryce Young would make the argument about that, but supposed to be a QB guy. Anybody here, name me Stanford's quarterback right now. Who's QB in this team? You can't do it, even though you literally wanted to ask me about this. And for the record, I'm not hating on that because I didn't know either. I had to go digging through all my preseason magazines to hunt down who was going to be the starter there. Here is what I will tell you. Aside from the fact that I don't think Frank Reich is going to be the head coach of this team very much longer, with all due respect, I'll tell you what I am intrigued by. And there was this super hilarious WTF moment earlier today, Diesel, because I got up to go over to the little breakfast buffet to get myself another plate full of bacon. Shut up, it's free and I'm fat. I love it. And when I stood up to walk past the table, I had to squeeze between a table and 2 dudes that were having a conversation. As I went to squeeze through them, I had this surreal moment of what is my life, because I realized that I just said, "Excuse me, fellas, can I slip by?" to Frank Reich and Andrew Luck. Because remember, Andrew Luck's the GM of that Stanford Cardinal team. And while I didn't, again, another guy that unfortunately, Radio Row's tough this year, can't get him on the show, but I did have about a 30-second conversation in passing, and I was listening to him do an interview with one of the there's a California radio station here that was interviewing Andrew Luck. And I kind of popped over there to listen because GM's a new concept to college football, right? This is a new thing that we're all kind of learning what it is in the college football landscape. I wanted to hear what he had to say. And while he would not say, obviously, anything directly about Frank Reich, the undertones of the conversation are, he believes that Stanford can get back to the Christian McCaffrey days. He believes that Stanford can get back to, with the West Coast money, with all the resources they have, he believes they can be competing for an ACC title in the next couple of years. I don't think they're going to do it under Frank Reich. So I think at some point, once Stanford kind of regroups and collects itself after all the conference expansion of the last couple of years, and that's Andrew Luck's job, once they get that NIL money coming in from all those famous engineers and whatnot that have graduated there, I do think Andrew Luck's the right guy to kind of push Stanford in the right direction. I don't expect much out of them this year or next year. I don't think they're really going to have an impact on the conference, though.
Rob, It'd help if I turned my mic on, by the way.
I heard you.
Rob, you you did. You were in Atlanta last season for SEC Media Days. You're in Charlotte today. Diesel and I will join you tomorrow. The SEC, we all know, is the better football conference. But tell Diesel and I, tell the Tolos out there, logistic-wise, the SEC, how did they do it with you being set up on Radio Row? Bring us behind the curtains a little bit, because last year, ACC Media Days, it was kind of like a free-for-all of you can get whoever's free, you can get whoever's available, and then this year they changed it with a schedule to where you have to schedule interviews. We thought that was going to be better. However, it looks like the national guys and the flagships are the only ones really getting team interviews with players and coaches. So in terms of what the ACC is doing from a media standpoint, are they behind the times still?
I mean, listen, they caught up with the SEC, right? Now, in fairness, this was my first year covering the conference. I don't know if that has been the traditional format of the SEC, which is we as the media dudes are supposed to reach out to the sports information directors of every school that we want interviews from, make the request, and work with them to set that up. The problem with that, and this is something that, again, not complaining, great event, glad to be here, but the problem that it presents for smaller stations in more local markets like us, obviously, is that, number one, the ACC net's going to get pick of the litter, right? When Rhett Lashley and Kevin Jennings are up there, they're locked in. And then they're going to also come down and they're going to give priority to, there's like 5 stations from Texas in a row over here. They just kind of knock those out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these schools, coaches, players, they only have X amount of time on Radio Row. So it is unfortunate for us. And we didn't learn this until this year because it hasn't been this way in the last couple of years. You scheduled everything through the ACC. You went to the ACC and they said, do you want Virginia? And you said, we want Tony Elliott, former Clemson guy. And they go, okay, we'll work on getting you him. If he's not good enough, how about a starting quarterback? Great, I'll take that, whatever. And this year they're like, hey guys, you're kind of on your own. And from what I found in conversations with the conference, that is kind of a school preference because now the school gets to spend their time with what is going to benefit them, right? Like, here's the reality. We would love to have Tony Elliott on. I'm looking at him. He's a couple of tables away talking to ESPN Radio, Richmond, Virginia. I'd love to have Tony on and check in with him. Hey, man, the boys at Clemson miss you. How's everything? Whatever. Let's talk about your shoe game because the shoe game is strong, boys. And that would be fantastic for us. But it doesn't help Virginia, right? Like, what is in the age of NIL, in the age of booster collectives, in the age of needing money, what helps you? It's talking to the people in Richmond, Virginia, who are willing to give your school money. So the schools are going to spend their time talking to Richmond, Virginia, and there's like a Fairfield, Virginia station over there, whatever. Tony Elliott's going to spend all his time down there talking to those guys to bump the money. That is why I will not be surprised on Thursday if and when we get a couple of Clemson guys to come on the show, fingers crossed, because we got a bunch of Clemson guys in our market. So it is good for the schools. And one of the things that I think conferences are going to be learning over the next couple of months, maybe years, fellas, is that there is a line where you're self-serving, whether it is a school, whether it is a conference, whether it is the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, whether it's the College Football Playoff organization as a whole, there's a line in the sand somewhere, and it may be very thin, but there's a line somewhere where you're self-serving to make sure the things that are happening are the best for you. Your self-serving does kind of start to go against the fan base as a whole. Like, they got to take care of Virginia. I understand that, no problem. But there comes a point where you send stations like us who are in a market that, we got Clemson, but it's an obsessive college football market. It's a good SEC market, good ACC market. But if we come to this event 2 or 3 years in a row and we're not getting these guys, like, at some point, as much as it's great for us to be here, at some point, don't we kind of start to go, what's the point? Like, I could sit in the studio and pull clips from Media Day press conferences. I don't have to drive an hour and 45 minutes to set up and break down and be at a hotel at 4:30 in the morning and by myself, whatever. I just do everything I'm doing from home. And that is just kind of, to me, a good illustration of there's going to be a line at some point. And I don't know where it is, if it's now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. There is a point of saturation where the self-serving nature of the people in charge of college football at every level, from the playoff committee down to the conferences, down to the schools, down to the coaches, I got to do what's best for me and my team or my conference or my organization, starts to alienate us as fans, us as broadcasters, and therefore us as the fans that we broadcast to. And if they don't figure that out, then events like this, they ultimately end up kind of becoming pointless, right? Because just like it makes no sense for us to come here for all of that, well, if Tony Elliott's only going to talk to the stations in Virginia, why the hell do they need to send him down here? He can just go to the studios in Richmond, Virginia. If Dabo's not going to talk to anybody except the stations that broadcast around the upstate of South Carolina, why the hell would he drive up here to Charlotte? Why wouldn't he just do a tour of the 3 stations in the upstate of South Carolina? So I do wonder if there is a point where events like this, as great as they are, don't kind of become obsolete. Maybe they start moving to like an online only basis down the line, because really, if we're not going to get guys, what the hell's the point?
Rob, I just want to know, how'd they cook the bacon this morning on the line? Was it to your liking, which is floppy, which is wrong, or was it all crispy?
I'm going to tell you this, Diesel. The name of the game is compromise. It is all about finding that healthy medium between people who are gross and bad with Team Crispy, I want my mouth to bleed bacon, and good people who understand that floppy bacon is where the salty and the fat stays in there. I'm going to give credit to the Uptown Charlotte Hilton Hotel. And I wasn't going to shout out the hotel, but I will since they did this. When they brought out the bacon, Diesel, they had it in 2 stacks. They had a floppy stack and they had a crispy stack. And I'm going to tell you right now, straight up, if I'm ever up here on vacation, if I'm ever up in Charlotte, North Carolina, I'll come up for some Hornets game when the Saints play the Panthers here at the bank, whatever the case is. When I come up here, I may very well make the Hilton Uptown Charlotte my hotel destination of choice, because if they took the time and consideration to have 2 stacks of bacon, for you weirdos with your crispy shards of glass bacon, and for the rest of us that enjoy bacon cooked the proper way where it's floppy, if they're willing to make sure everybody gets the bacon that they want, Diesel, as they say in the South, that's good people.
Hey, if it's free, it's for me.
That's fair.
If it's there and it's just slightly floppy, I'll eat it.
Yes, all of that. That is 100% fair and correct and accurate. I will tell you that here's the good news, is that when I'm done with this interview and whatever, right over there is a bar that contains a little media reception with, I believe we're doing half-off cocktails. So I hope you don't need me for the next, I don't know, let's say 12-plus hours of my life, because that's where I'll be.
Well, try not to drink them dry on bourbon, because we'll be there tomorrow.
I made no promises, Diesel. You should have come here today, buddy. Good luck to you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, guys.
That is Rob Brown of The Rob Brown Show, live on location at the Uptown Charlotte Hilton. We'll be there tomorrow so that the whole crew can be together. We rarely get to see each other face-to-face, but it's going to happen tomorrow. When we come back, Memphis offered what? To get into the Big 12? Might be the most desperate college football realignment scheme I've ever seen. We'll talk about it next. Stop me if you're shocked, Tolos, but our conversation with Rob Brown went a little bit long. So we'll have to save this story about Memphis and the ridiculous pitch that they made to try to get into the Big 12 for the Daily Wires. But when we come back,
we will have audio, reactions, thoughts. Jim Phillips, SMU, a lot of audio to get to from ACC Media Days. It's dominating the conversation, and we'll circle right back to ACC kickoff next. ACC kickoff is dominating the conversation. It is dominating our show as well. That's what we're going to do in this very segment. We're going to react to what Jim Phillips had to. Do you even know who Jim Phillips is? Tolo's out there. Mario Cristobal, Kevin Jennings, Rhett Lashley. Those were the teams in attendance today. We talked to Rob Brown about them. Miami, SMU, Stanford, Cal, and Virginia. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Tuesday. Corn Chip says, I'm pissed now. I missed out on that good bacon when my wife and I stayed there for a weekend. I'm glad to know Rob Brown is with me, Diesel, on Team Floppy Bacon.
Bacon doesn't need to be like burnt to a crisp, right? That's ludicrous. There should not be black spots on the bacon. That is too far gone. That's a well done steak, and that stuff belongs in the trash.
Yep.
However, I don't want to like bite into it and pull it and have like strings of fat.
Oh, I do.
Coming off of the bacon. I don't want to have to like grip on with everything that I got in my jaw and pull the bacon apart.
I
That's
love it.
Crazy.
I love fat
That's
on a steak. I mean, I love fat. It's the flavor. And speaking of flavor, Jim Phillips, Rob Brown said, by the way, not much flavor from Jim Phillips.
You don't say.
Yeah, not real shocked there. Let's hit a few Jim Phillips, Diesel, and see what he had to say, the commissioner of the ACC. What are they focused on? Well, Jim Phillips will tell you they continue their focus on what?
Nationally, the ACC continues to play a vital and leading role in this transformational moment for college sports. There remains strong ongoing collaboration among the Power Four commissioners as we work together to build a better and more sustainable future. There's not a day that I'm not engaged in discussions on the College Sports Commission, federal legislation efforts, the NCAA, or the college football playoff.
Do we believe that? I mean,
What a load of crap.
do we? I hate to be
We're
that
deep
way.
in discussions.
What does that mean,
I'm
though?
pretty sure Greg Sankey has to call you back because he calls him back when it's convenient for him.
Oh, I had a missed call from Jim Phillips today.
If Sankey calls Jim, Jim answers every time. If Jim calls Greg will get back when he has
good.
time.
That's good. Could the ACC Diesel move possibly to a 9-game schedule like the SEC?
We have discussed 9. We've discussed 9 several times in my 5 years as commissioner. The group has always felt that at the end of the day, those non-conference games have really been good for the league, and we have really scheduled well. So it isn't as if our league has just kind of looked aside about strength of schedule. They have. If you go to 9, if the SEC ends up going to 9 and maybe we end up going to 9, I think there's a few challenges. Those rivalry games that we really enjoy, I think that the fans really enjoy, I think some of those go away. And it now focuses more on everybody's conference schedule than it is a mix of conference schedule and non-conference. Also, I think it's a challenge for us with an odd number of schools at 17 and how you exactly work that out. So that in itself, there's some difficulty there. And I continue to talk to Greg and I talk to Tony and Brett all the time. I mean, we have frequent conversations. So, I mean, no one's kind of moving in a vacuum on this. We're exchanging, thoughts there, and we'll see. At the end of the day, I like where our league is. I like where we're at in 8 games because we're playing the type of caliber that I described, 26 really good non-conference games. But we'll adjust if we have to, and I think all of this remains a work in progress.
I agree with him on the rivalry games.
Yeah.
I want to keep those around.
Translation, we'd go to 7 if we could.
No
because it's terrible scheduling inside of our own conference. Maybe the ACC needs to adopt a model where the 5 best teams in your conference absolutely play the other 4.
Yeah.
Out of those 5. If you want to go top 5, cool. If you want to go top 6, cool. So that way 4 out of your 8 conference games are against the best teams in the conference.
When you listen to Jim Phillips, I don't know why, But for whatever reason, when you listen to Jim Phillips Diesel, it's almost as if he's the substitute teacher on the day of the fire drill, where on the inside he has no idea what's going on, but on the outside he's navigating it, and he seems to have, the answers to the question if anyone has questions. That's kind of what Jim Phillips is to me. It doesn't really seem like that an authority figure that knows what to do when it comes to college football, that speaks with confidence, right? The way that I'm not saying Greg Sankey's this ultra prime figure that we all look to, but man, it just seems like for whatever reason, this guy in Jim Phillips just doesn't move the meter much.
I think he's entirely reactionary. We're looking around and seeing what Jim and Greg and Brett are doing with the ACC, Big Ten, and to a lesser extent the Big 12, and then we figure out how to fit best in what that is. And I've been critical of Jim Phillips in the past when he talks about the revenue that the ACC is able to distribute to its teams. What are you doing to try to bridge some of that gap? You're not going to bridge all of it because you don't have the power programs in your conference to have a media valuation that'll rival the SEC or the Big Ten. So what are you doing? How hard are you working behind the scenes to generate that extra revenue? We never hear that from him, ever.
What we did hear today also, Diesel, was Jim Phillips speaking on the expansion of the college football playoff and what that could look like in terms of the evolution of this whole thing.
Following an incredibly successful first year of the expanded college football playoff, we are looking forward to the future of this premier event. Earlier this spring, we adjusted the seating and bye policies for the upcoming season, which were absolutely in the best interest of college football. The decisions were important to guarantee the 5 highest-ranked conference champions a place in the playoff while also recognizing performance on the field during the entire regular season via straight seeding. Conversations regarding the CFP structure beyond the upcoming year are ongoing, and I sincerely appreciate the collaborative spirit in which we are moving forward.
He's reading this.
We may not always agree, and at certain points we have had some strong disagreements. But we all recognize the importance of coming together to find a solution that is truly best for all of college football. Fairness and access are paramount, just as they are in all other college sports postseasons.
What does that mean, though? Like, that's kind of where I am with
How can we
everything.
make Greg Sankey happy?
What substance is here? I mean, how do we get? I just hear a lot of.
Are we rolling over on our back? Are we rolling over on our left side or our right side? Which part of our belly do we want the Big Ten and the SEC to scratch?
Weird. He does claim that the ACC is in a viable position moving forward.
Financially, as most recently reported, we were one of only 2 power conferences to show a revenue increase in 2023-24. We had the highest gross revenue ever reported for the league at over $711 million. Over the last 5 years, our overall revenue's up 56%, has more than tripled in the last 13. We delivered an average of $45 million to each school, also a league record. And once again, we are in the top 3 in both overall revenues generated and per school distribution. And we fully expect that to continue as we look ahead.
So, viable ACC, Diesel, you buying that?
Viable is
position.
a relative term because it's viable for now.
Or now.
Also, I mean, how is it internally viable? I get that it's good for Clemson. I get that it's good for Miami and Florida State and North Carolina. But how is it viable for several of your teams to be receiving double or triple the amount that your worst teams are receiving? How are those bad teams ever going to be expected to dig themselves, out of the hole, to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and become another viable team?
Well, we'll hear from some players and coaches in a minute. Let's get one more from Jim Phillips. Jim Phillips hyping the amount of TV time in 2025. This is good stuff.
And what makes our league great is the exceptional talent. The ACC once again stands out as the conference of quarterbacks, and the numbers speak for themselves. This year's group is as deep and talented as we've seen in years, with elite signal callers, many here with us this week. But it's not just about quarterbacks. This league is loaded with explosive playmakers on offense, game changers on defense, and we all know the value of special teams in this league. There's not enough time to outline all the meaningful games and rivalries that will take place this season. However, there's no question all eyes will once again be on this conference. During week 1, we're the only league to compete across 5 days, Thursday through Monday. And we will once again anchor Labor Day weekend on Monday night with North Carolina playing host to TCU. Our teams will also play nation-leading 7 Power 4 opponents in week 1, all of which who have won at least 9 games this past season. Throughout the regular season, ACC football is set to dominate Friday nights. A league record and nation-leading 12 games are scheduled and will feature 12 of our 17 programs. Fans will never miss a minute of action as our ESPN, ACC network, and CW partners will once again cover our teams throughout the entire season. Starting next week, ACCN will embark on a 3-week road trip previewing all 17 ACC programs with 60-minute shows that air in primetime each weekday. As I said before, being one of only 3 conferences with its own network is a differentiator. And in this case, Road Trip is unique to the ACC, as it's the only college conference network to have this preseason programming.
Oh, how about that? Oh,
we got documentaries over here,
baby.
you guys.
We're moving up. We're moving up.
We're going to be on every day.
Anchoring Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, you can catch our games in between reruns of The Flash and
George
Supergirl.
Lopez, too.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man.
I mean, think about just the carryover audience that we have from George Lopez reruns into Wake Forest Duke.
I was looking, by the way, we're going to get to Mario Cristobal, Kevin Jennings, Rhett Lashley. But Diesel, I'm seeing a clip of audio that looks so fascinating. Mario Cristobal asking for Cuban coffee in Spanish. I have no idea what this is. Just a fair warning. But it sounds intriguing.
Tyler Budge, CF Budge. I wanted to start with the same question I asked you last year. Did you get your Cuban coffee this morning? And if no, did Greg...
that's been a battle here. And I think, I think it'd be good if I could get some help from the locals. Si alguien habla español, por favor, ayúdenme. And it would be greatly appreciated. And I promise to return the favor at a fine dining establishment in Miami when you guys are down there.
Did you know Mario could go with the best of them, speak Spanish with the best of them?
I would have to assume. I mean, I would assume a guy from Miami can speak Spanish.
But not everybody in Miami can speak Spanish.
Well, no, not everybody, but it is a predominantly there's a large Cuban community there in Miami. But I mean, is it too much to ask to get that man an extra strong coffee? I mean, he goes to a Starbucks and says, "Get this crap out of my face."
What about NIL collectives, Mario?
Well, we've always been very well established. We've always been compliant, and we've been aggressive in the right kind of way and used it in a form and a fashion that benefits our program and our players. In terms of where they are and all the details surrounding that, that's maybe a question for some other time, but you couldn't find a more professionally run organization.
Talking about, by the way, the collective at Miami. Hey, listen, they're doing something right.
We are so compliant. It's great. You wouldn't believe how compliant we are at Miami.
And they paid the quarterback $4 million, stole him away from Georgia. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? It's not how you man. Thanks cough there. Diesel, I was trying to say it's not how you start, it's how you finish, according to Mario.
No doubt. It's how you finish, right? It's how you finish. We've made a lot of progress over the last 3 years. I mean, year one, our roster was not really built to take on Power 4 football, and those were some lopsided games. It was tough. And then in year two, every game was competitive, and we won a couple more. And then last year we had a chance to win every single game, but we didn't. The bottom line is we didn't get it done. And it's more than, I know we pointed out the defense a little bit earlier, but you know what also fell apart at the end? Ball security, right? If you turn the ball over, you subject yourself to some not so positive outcomes. So without a doubt, finishing is a mentality. Finishing is a work ethic that comes with the offseason. And we've always, invested a ton of effort in those areas, and we've invested even more this offseason. And it'll be a big part of training camp as well.
So, look, he admits that they didn't have the best ending to last season.
No, I mean, they also had a crazy difference maker who ended up going number 1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that.
Replacing him now.
They do have 8 defensive starters coming back, which defense was not their strong suit last year, Cole. I mean, they gave up a ton of points. They gave up 34 against Virginia Tech, 38 against Cal, 45 against Louisville. They couldn't stop anybody.
Couldn't stop him. Here's Crystal Ball on Carson Beck.
Well, we're thrilled to have had Cam, and we're thrilled to have Carson here now. And, we never look for the next, like when we had Justin Herbert out west, we didn't look for the next Justin Herbert. We looked for the first Cam Ward, and this, we're looking for the first and best version of Carson Beck. So Carson Beck has as good of experience as a quarterback as you can have. He's played in monster games, and he's played at high level. And he is ultra competitive, and his football IQ is off the charts. It didn't take long to realize that he's a team player and that his work ethic is also through the roof. So even though he missed spring practice, his participation was in a limited manner, but soon after he has been cleared and he's been participating and doing everything with our team for several weeks. And that's a lot of opportunities. Nowadays in college football, guys run their own practices and whatnot, and they get, almost like an entire, spring session on their own off to the side. But what we see is, like I mentioned, a high-level elite competitor that has played at a high level. That is, and this I think is the best part, that is hungry players in the country. He, like Akeem, like CeCe, like Wes, their interest is to make Miami better, to go win. And I think when you combine those things and you combine an offensive line that really prides itself on working hard and protecting and running the ball well and a lot of pieces around it and an improved defense, this is the right place, this is the right time, and these are the right people. And I think his relationship with Shannon Dawson and the rest of the offensive staff, particularly the offensive line coach with Shannon Dawson, and the rest of the offensive staff, particularly the offensive line coach, Coach Mirabal, it's a tremendous partnership. And so we're looking forward to getting on the field and making it work.
Diesel, Miami normally doesn't have my interest throughout the majority of a college football season. But I will say Carson Beck's arrival in Miami has piqued my interest more for the Hurricanes in 2025.
Yeah, it's going to be, hopefully for Miami fans, it's going to be a man amongst boys, right? He's going to have that elite arm talent that surpasses even what Cam Ward did last year. And obviously we know Cam Ward created a lot with his legs. Carson Beck is not going to be that guy that creates as much with his legs. So it's going to be a true elite arm talent there. And do they have the right wide receivers to get themselves open, and do they have running backs that can play off of that? If not, they're a one-dimensional team, and nothing really changes for Miami.
We talked to Rob Brown earlier about Kevin Jennings of SMU. How about lessons learned, especially in that game with Clemson?
Yeah, I took a lot from that game. I think, like I tell myself all the time, honestly, needed that game. I needed, a bad game like that to bounce back and, come back in and remind myself that, I can play at this level and I can do all things I'm capable of doing. So just taking that game and going to the Clemson game, it's going to be kind of the same environment, and I'm just looking forward to heading to Clemson.
Ready for the challenge. Maybe has Clemson on his mind a little bit more than normal. Rob Brown predicted SMU back in the ACC championship game. One more from Kevin Jennings, Diesel, before we run to a break. How about the compliments from Nick Saban?
Big shout-outs to Nick Saban for mentioning that. But, I think we had a really good season last year. I mean, it didn't end how we wanted it to end. But I think this upcoming year, our end goal is, to win the Natty, win it all, win the conference championship, and that'll be a good season for me, I think.
Win the Natty. Win the Natty.
Like in not college football 26.
Yeah, about that. I mean, I have no real issues with SMU's returning offense. They got a lot of players coming back. It's the defense, to me, that's going to struggle. I mean, they're going to have to outscore teams. That's just simply how they're going to have to play this year.
It's interesting, man. I do think the job that Rhett Lashley's done, is commendable. And them coming into the conference, as soon as they did, we have one clip of audio from Rhett, then we got to run to a break. But I do think you have to respect what Rhett Lashley's done. Here is the ACC, or his thoughts on the ACC.
Has separated itself as one of the top 3 leagues in America. I mean, the data speaks for itself, whether it's the revenue generation that we did this past year. I know the commissioner spoke to, 3 leagues have a network. Our network, 5 years in, is thriving and does a great job covering us. 3 leagues had multiple CFP participants this year. We were one of them. And I think sometimes, I was fortunate to win a national championship in 2010 when I was at Auburn. And since then, over the last 14 seasons, one league's won 8 championships, and 2 other leagues, us and the Big Ten, have won 3 national championships. So, and another league hasn't won any. So I think that just shows you where our league has been on the national stage and where we think we'll continue to be and where we belong. And on top of it, I know it's been talked about here, we have the toughest non-conference strength of schedule in all of college football. And we're going to partake in that this year as we play 2 really good teams from the Big 12 and Baylor and TCU that are both 9-win teams a year ago.
Didn't we talk to Rhett Lashley, you and I, last year? I think I don't know why I felt like we did. I know we talked to Brent Key, but
yeah,
his voice sounded real familiar. I don't know if we got a chance to speak to him.
I stood in front of Jeff Brom
at
his meeting.
I think he's done a good job. SMU, if they could consistently become a contender in the ACC, I think you look at this program as one of the cool stories of college football from where they were, right, not too long ago to where they are now.
Yeah, but is SMU the kind of program that could hold on to a Rhett Lashley long term? Let's just say that they have a 10-win season this year or a 9-win season this year. That's year 4 of Rhett Lashley at SMU, 2 years of data at a Power 4 program against Power 4 scheduling. Is
maybe the Texas?
Is he the kind of guy that somebody says, you know what, we'll take him, we'll take a shot at him if Cristobal struggles this year at Miami and they move on?
I think he's a good coach. Yeah. We'll
if
see.
Norvell struggles at Florida State and they move on, would they make a run?
Ultimately, though, if SMU wants to keep him, you'd think with that money where they're located, you'd think with that alumni base that they should be able to keep the guy.
Well, speaking of their money, we all know how SMU got themselves into the ACC. The ACC took the deal, but the Big 12 not quite ready to do that kind of deal with the devil. A wild story out of conference realignment that didn't go the way that the school offering a big old fat chunk of money hoped that it would. We'll talk about it next. Just talked about SMU on the show, Cole. You remember when they joined the ACC? When it was announced, it was a crazy offer that they made. We'll join your conference. We'd love to suit up and put that ACC patch on our jersey. And by the way, we're already so rich over here that we're not going to take any money from the conference for 9 years. 9 years. Think about that.
Yeah.
ACC is distributing $35 million. That's 100. It's 100 and something million dollars.
It's like
I'm terrible at math.
the rich guy who loves radio,
Yeah.
and knows it doesn't pay like a lot anyways.
does it for
just
free.
Does, hey, I'll come back and
Cost me
don't-
more in taxes.
Yeah,
to
that's
take a
right.
salary, so I'll just do the
Do
job
it for free.
For free.
That happens.
And since that's happened, Cole, we've seen obviously a lot of weird scenarios for how teams enter conferences, coming in, getting a 50% share. It's what happened with the newly rebranded American Conference with the mascot Soar, which is an eagle with a body like it's a human man
Yeah.
with an eagle head.
Fitting,
It's
right?
really strange. They lost 3 teams, so they brought in 6, and they distributed those 3 teams' revenue among the 6. So you all get 50% share. Well, now, Cole, is when teams start getting real desperate. A lot of these group of 5 teams, group of 6 teams, and it's going to be taking some time to get used to saying that, the Pac-12 now being a G6 conference, they are trying to leverage everything they possibly can to get the heck out of Dodge and get into a power conference, because it feels like the split is coming one of these days. And Memphis, you got to give them credit, number one, for having the money, for having the donor base, but also shooting their shot, really throwing everything they possibly can, including $250 million in sponsorship money, at trying to get into the Big 12. Because they're like, the American Conference sucks. We're never going to get anywhere in this conference. We got to do everything we possibly can. And that is exactly what they did. Here's what was reported on On3 Sports by Nick Costco. Quote, the proposal from Memphis, one of the most aggressive membership propositions in college athletics history, features hundreds of millions of dollars in sponsorship commitments to the Big 12 from UM-affiliated corporate partners, as well as the school eschewing revenue distribution from the league for at least 5 years. That comes from Ross Dellinger. This particular effort began more than a year ago. Memphis President Bill Hardgrave has spent the last 14 months visiting with presidents and top athletic administrators of many Big 12 schools and individual on-campus meetings that have culminated in the membership offered to the league that is expected to be as high as $200 million over the next 5 years. We are so desperate to get into your conference. Number one, we won't take any money from you for 5 years. And number two, our rich pals, being FedEx, Lowe's, and other local players in the Memphis area, are going to put $200 million. Apparently, when that $200 million wasn't enough, they bumped it up to $250. We're going to sponsor this conference. It's championship games, it's tournaments, football, basketball, to the tune of $250 million. And the Big 12 said, nah, bro, we're good. We're full up over here.
That is, number one, fascinating. That's a lot of money, right? We thought the SMU bargain was a bargain.
Wild.
Until we heard this, right?
Yeah.
Like the hold my beer moment from SMU. First thing I'll say on this, maybe I'm wrong. And I don't have the inside knowledge, Diesel, and the perspective that the Big 12 has. I don't know why, but I've always viewed Memphis as an attractive athletics program. I've always felt like they were competitive. They're not like world beaters, right? They don't win every single conference championship in every single sport. But I do feel like Memphis has done a good job recruiting good players. I mean, look, when you talk about Memphis football, they're not one of the leading brands, right, year in and year out. You and I don't spend our time thinking, I wonder how Memphis football is going to be. However, you go follow them. They haven't been great. They haven't been horrible. I'm surprised, Diesel, that the money wasn't enough for the Big 12 to budge. Am I surprised that they said no? Not necessarily, but that much money being thrown out there, I thought there might be some consideration, right?
Maybe if the Big 12 was still at 12 or at 14 teams. But the Big 12 has gobbled up the southern half of the Pac-12, the ones that didn't go off to the Big 10. And then they gobbled up Cincinnati and UCF and Houston and TCU. So here's all these teams that are some of these teams that Memphis has been in a conference with for years. And they're saying, hey, guys, like we've been pretty good at football for the last 10 years. They've had 10 consecutive winning seasons. They've had 91 total wins since 2014. That ranks them 14th in the nation and the most wins in the AAC. So the winningest program over the past 10 years in that conference. And they've got it. So they've got that basketball history. I think they're more of a basketball power than they are a football power.
Sure.
But
they've made runs.
When it all comes down to money, to be told, like, nah, you're still not pretty enough, even with $250 million in your pocket.
What's that tell you?
Well, that tells you that you ain't never getting out of the American Conference.
Whew.
You are stuck here for life.
That's just surprising.
Fred Smith, the chairman of FedEx, sent a letter pledging Memphis-based corporate sponsorships, potential title sponsorship of the Big 12 football. So it'd be Big 12 brought to you by FedEx and their basketball championship game, plus significant investment tied to university expansion.
That's crazy.
Into the conference. They pledged that they were going to upgrade their football stadium and their basketball stadium, and the Big 12 still said, it's not enough.
What is it then? Like, that's what I would want to know from FedEx. I mean, that's amazing. I guess FedEx quit spending money with NASCAR, right? Now that Denny Hamlin drives the Progressive car, they've got some money freed up. I don't know what it would. What was the number? 220?
So it's been reported anywhere between $200 and $500 million over the next 5 years. But just the consensus, most people are putting it more like 250.
Think about this, though. What does it tell you about this sport of college football, not just college football, but college athletics?
Yeah.
As lucrative as they are, that a offer of $200 million to $500 million wasn't enough to allow a school who's, like you said, got a pretty good basketball program most years. That wasn't enough of a deal, of a bargain, of a push in the right direction, a nudge in the right direction to allow Memphis to join. That blows my mind. I don't know what it would take. Okay, you want $100 million? What do you want?
Big 12 leadership reportedly dismissed Memphis's bid, noting that offering to accept less revenue made the school look like one needing a subsidy rather than adding financial value to the conference.
Say that again, please.
They said that offering to accept less money made the school look like one needing a subsidy, meaning if you're not going to take a conference revenue distribution for 5 years, you're going to need FedEx and Lowe's
that makes sense.
To help make your budget.
Yeah.
And
every year.
Yeah. Forever.
Sure.
And that you by yourselves, and this is not anything new in the sense that all these conferences look at which schools can come in and increase their revenue value, increase their TV package. So Big 12 wants to be able to go to, who are they even with now? Fox. They want to be able to go to Fox and say, hey, we're thinking about adding Memphis. Yeah. Can you get us to a point where instead of distributing $35 million a year, can you get us to a point where we're distributing $40 million or $42 million? And Memphis just simply does not have that.
So after hearing that, I kind of understand, like, the premise of that. I get that, like, it sounds like what the Big 12 is saying, Diesel, look, you're having to have this sponsor to come join our club. No, you're not getting in. We're not allowing you in our fraternity just because you have this sponsor. You're not one of us. You never will be one of us. Your sponsor's going to go away one day, and you're still going to be the poor kid looking for money. Essentially, that's what it sounds like the Big 12's saying.
Perhaps, and Dan B brings up a good point, Fred Smith, the CEO of FedEx, died.
I saw that
a couple of months ago. So maybe there's a fear, even though the company pledged it. And I don't know what the succession protocol has been with FedEx. He was a big Memphis supporter. Who knows if the next CEO is going to be willing to be a big Memphis supporter. So Fred might have made this deal.
It's crazy.
But
man.
John, the next CEO, might not want to make this deal. So this has been really interesting to watch. I'm just wondering, Cole, if the Big 12 said no, will Memphis try the same thing with the ACC? We just talked about Jim Phillips needing to generate new sources of revenue. Is it possible that Memphis could try to pitch this to the ACC? But what does it say about the ACC if Memphis isn't interested in making that pitch to the ACC?
They might not be, but I think Memphis would much rather be in the ACC than the American. I mean, wouldn't you rather be in the ACC than the American? And
but
to
then
me,
you're thinking, what if Clemson and Florida State leaves? Is there value for them to be in a conference with
but
Wake
it's still
Forest?
better than them. And to me, Memphis makes more sense being in the ACC than Cal and Stanford and SMU.
Sure.
I mean, will they be competitive in football? Maybe not for the first few years, but it is interesting. I guess the moral of the story is money doesn't buy anything and everything. But, Diesel, you and I have talked a lot of sports today. It's time now for you and I to touch on everything that's happened in the sports world in a segment we call Our Daily Wires. With so much to get to, we call it our Daily Wires. What's happening in the world of sports? Let's start with some news that came out during our show today. I retweeted it at the Cole Bryson on Twitter on X. After 12 seasons in the NFL, Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, retiring from the NFL. Diesel, I saw Tyrann Mathieu in person one time in a college game. It was when Clemson beat LSU in the Georgia Dome, the old Georgia Dome, on New Year's Day. And I'm just sitting there thinking, was that long ago? He's been in the NFL for 12. Yeah, he has. Tyrann Mathieu, one of the best in college.
You were still a teenager.
I was an infant. I was drinking milk out of the bottle still. Yesterday, the Atlanta Braves beat the San Francisco Giants 9-5. Davis Daniel on the mound for Atlanta tonight, 7:15 first pitch. So that means bet the Giants because nobody knows who Davis Daniel is, right? Washington, D.C. Mayor remains confident that the Commanders will return to the city, but steered clear of President Trump's threat to scuttle a stadium deal if the team does not return to its former name. Cincinnati Bengals star defensive end Trey Hendrickson told ESPN's Adam Schefter that he will not report to training camp Tuesday with the rest of the team.
Holding out.
That's big. His absence, the latest development in what's been a months-long stalemate between the four-time Pro Bowler and the Bengals. In case you missed it, Dorman and Clemson star P.J. Hall has signed a two-way contract with the Memphis Grizzlies. Congratulations and shout out to P.J. Let's go. Micah Parsons' watch is officially on in Oxnard, California. Diesel, Dallas Cowboys Pro Bowl pass rusher, reported the training camp, but what's not clear is whether he'll take part in training camp. So Hendrickson and Micah Parsons a little bit in the same boat, if you will.
There's a lot of posturing with I'm not going to show up,
That's right.
or I am going to show up, but I'm not going to participate. I am going to participate,
there,
but
but
I'm not happy about it. I mean, come on, guys.
I'll be there, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go out to eat, but
I'm going to fly all the way out there.
Right. In Memphis, Tennessee, authorities on Monday asked the public to provide surveillance footage from eyewitnesses as they investigate the fatal shooting of an Ole Miss freshman football player in a Memphis neighborhood after a pool party. Corey Adams, 18-year-old defensive lineman from New Orleans, was found with a gunshot wound inside a vehicle at an intersection in the Memphis suburb on Saturday night. Terrible news there.
Anybody who knows the reputation of New Orleans and of Memphis is probably saying, yeah, I could see that. Somebody from New Orleans getting shot in Memphis. Happens all the time.
It's tough, man. Days after landing number one outside linebacker Tyler Atkinson, Texas secured its latest five-star addition on Sunday. Got pass rusher Derek Cooper, ESPN's number one running back in the 2026 class. Diesel, the rich in Austin are getting richer.
I put together a stat yesterday comparing the top-rated recruit at the worst recruiting class for the 2026 class. That one in the SEC was, not Vanderbilt. Blanking on it now. Missouri. Missouri had the worst class in the SEC, and Georgia has 22 recruits rated higher than Missouri's best recruit.
How about that? In case you missed it yesterday, Denny Hamlin claimed victory on Sunday in a dramatic finish, holding off Chase Briscoe after a long rain delay. Also, Georgia offensive lineman Ja Jackson was arrested for charges including felony possession of marijuana. That's a win, though. It wasn't speeding. The Charlotte Hornets Diesel won the NBA Summer League tournament. First title of any. Are we turning the page?
I've seen jokes asking, are they going to hang a banner for a summer league title?
They should. I mean, it's Charlotte. And lastly, Diesel, we're wishing a happy birthday to a young Tolo. Is that right?
Yeah.
What'd he
JD's 4-year-old
4
son,
years old.
Paxton. So happy birthday, Tolo Paxton.
Let's
we
go.
appreciate you listening to the show, even if you are strapped into a car seat and you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it's not like he's like, hey, let's. Well, he might have a choice. We'll see.
When we come back, Cole, let's do this. Let's jump back into a conversation that we had earlier on in the show. and replay our conversation with Rob Brown, who is on location at ACC Kickoff. You and I are going to be there tomorrow, but let's get that on the ground, boots on the ground perspective from Rob next.